Hi, my name is Steve Ryder. I'm commander with the Linwood Police Department. Currently assigned as the investigations commander, and more importantly for this forum, I'm the commander of the South Snohomish County Narcotics Task Force. I'm not as knowledgeable in the ideas and the theories and the stories that my predecessors have, but what I can tell you is how law enforcement has learned throughout the decades. I've been in law enforcement for 25 years. In the early 90s, 93, 94, I served as an undercover narcotics detective. And back then, to us, what was important was to arrest people. Incarceration, the enforcement model was going to solve the problem because obviously people that have drug problems are out committing other crimes and we're not getting to the root of it when we incarcerate them. It wasn't until I became the commander in charge of the South Snohomish County Narcotics Task Force in 2008 that law enforcement in whole, I think, started realizing that this was more about community partnerships. This was more of a community issue, not just a law enforcement issue. For years, law enforcement has worked in a silo because we just do what we do and we trust others to do what they do. We didn't realize how important the partnerships were. The health department and the Snohomish County Regional Drug and Gang Task Force, Lieutenant Richardson is here, they developed a drug take-back program. And they put in these bins throughout the county. You can go online now and see where all these bins are so you can take back the drugs. But that was part of how law enforcement started this evolvement. I found it interesting how Dr. Goldbaum identified in what year heroin started taking over. Back when I was a narcotics detective in the early 90s and actually into the late 90s, cocaine and crack cocaine was the big deal that we dealt with. We did some good enforcement action on that. The price of cocaine went up, the price of heroin was down, and I don't know if that's around the same time the heroin became an epidemic, but it certainly has, that combined with methamphetamine. So as we evolve and as we realize what the problem is, our jails are beginning to beef up their medical treatment, medical attention for people incarcerated that have addictions. Our community health and services program is ramping up, and Sergeant Cole Langdon is spearheading our effort in Linwood to make partnerships throughout the county to deal with treatment elements as opposed to enforcement on these issues. As a task force, we also try and limit access, and Dr. Goldbaum's first level of dependency started with access. We realized real quick that taking off somebody that's buying a gram at a time, getting their fix, just to buy another gram to get their next fix, that wasn't who we wanted to target. What we want to target is the drug trafficking organizations. So our task force has developed a great relationship with the Drug Enforcement Administration. Matter of fact, the special agent in charge is here this evening. And through that partnership, we've been very successful at reducing, or at least trying to reduce, the access that our local citizens have in Snohomish County. So, for a little more on what we're doing with our community partners, I'll introduce Sergeant Cole Langdon. He's doing a great job. And then afterwards, if you have questions, we're here for you.
Thank you, Commander. Just real quick, before we have some other speakers. Again, my name is Cole Langdon. I'm newly appointed to our community health and safety section. Very excited to be a part of it. Most of my career before that was spent in our K-9 unit. And I was one of those people that you always love to see on a motorcycle riding around giving out tickets. So it's nice to be involved in something where I actually get to look for long-term solutions in our community. A couple things I want to mention really quick. Some programs that we're looking at, we're really excited about. One is a LEAD program, and King County is running this program right now. It's a law enforcement assisted diversion, and this is a program we're exploring where if we find somebody who's engaged in non-predatory criminal activity that's somehow tied to drug use, or we find somebody who's in simple possession of drugs, we want to get them tied into services pre-arrest. So before we plug them into the criminal justice system, we want to try and get them tied in with a social worker who can now be kind of a case manager for them and get them tied into services. And we don't expect absolute abstinence right away. That's unrealistic to expect that. But what we are going to get is that person engaged. We're looking at a harm reduction model, trying to get them engaged in the system. And we have this leverage here of this potential criminal charge where incarceration is a potential, but we really want to use that more as something that can be leveraged to get them engaged. So we're really excited about that. Another program that we're looking at is called PARI. Has anybody here heard of PARI? Okay, this It's a program started at Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's been around for a couple years now, and the great thing about this, it's called the Police Assisted Addiction Recovery Initiative. And really, it's just about partnerships. And what we're trying to do is partner up with rehab facilities all around the nation, and we're looking to get about 2 scholarships. These rehab facilities to be on this list are expected to give 2 scholarships per month. And so we call these people up, unless we run across somebody who's on Medicaid who wouldn't otherwise have access. And I was just speaking with my friend Robert from Evergreen Recovery here a little while ago about the shortage of recovery facilities and the limited access people on Medicaid actually have to quality treatment facilities. I mean, the wait lists are so long. So with PARI, what we can do is get these people tied in, hopefully get them tied into detox right away. We're offering them an amnesty of sort if they want to come to the police department and they want to turn themselves over to this program and try and get that treatment, we want to be able to plug them in right away. The other thing, and what my unit's looking at, is that we're realistic. We understand a lot of people aren't just going to come to the police department and say, I'm ready to give up this habit that's taken so many years to really dig in and become a part of my life. So we're looking at assertive engagement. We're actually going out to the field. We're just asking right now, we've submitted budgets, and our chief's going to be asking for an embedded social worker, somebody who's skilled, understands a little more about the services, understands the landscape of the human services out there, and what might be best for a given person. They're going to be out there with us. We're going to go out into the field, contact these people, and have this assertive engagement on a daily basis. We're going out there, we're contacting them, asking them if they're ready to receive services. And then when we have that person who's at that moment of clarity where, yeah, they're ready, at that moment they're ready, they're done, they're sick and tired of it, we can get them tied in right then and there. So we have that embedded social worker who has the connections, can get them plugged in right away. So we're really excited about that. We realize that we can't arrest our way out of this problem, and I can tell you that this does affect everybody, including members of our law enforcement community. We've had members of our own department have family members who suffer from addiction as well. So I appreciate you all being here. And next, it's going to be Debbie.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Warfield, and I'm the mother of Spencer. 4 years ago, tomorrow actually, he passed away from a heroin overdose. And tonight I want to honor him by sharing his story and asking you to open your heart and mind to this awful disease. Spencer was loved beyond words since the day he was born on May 4th, 1988. He would have been 28 years old if heroin had not taken him from us. As a child, he was very active, happy, and fun-loving. His sister Paige was born when he was 5 years old, and he had an immediate love for her. He shared many wonderful traditions with grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. One of his biggest joys was hanging out with all of his neighborhood friends. They shared all kinds of sports and activities together over the years. I would say an ideal childhood. Spencer was always a big kid for his age, causing some joking amongst his peers about his height and weight. He reached the height of 6'5" as a young adult. As he entered middle school, his self-esteem began weakening, and he was showing signs of depression. Academically, he was a very gifted student and was in the honors program. Sports, friends, and family were still a big part of his life. Although his behavior during the end of middle school was becoming somewhat worrisome, we were hopeful it was just a stage and part of the teenage process. We remained close as a family and tried to do everything we could to keep him on track. High school was more of a challenging time for him and us. Spencer's depression was becoming more present, and he was not motivated to get up in the morning to go to school. but still wanting to participate in sports and activities. Of course, as parents, we thought at the time missing school was unacceptable and not graduating was unheard of. His coaches and teachers never felt like he was giving them all that he could. He had all the skills, intelligence, physical stature to be very competitive in several sports and to accomplish whatever he wanted in life. But there was something missing. He started seeing a psychiatrist who diagnosed him with depression and ADHD. This started the cycle of experimenting with prescription drugs to find one that might help with his depression. They gave Adderall for his ADHD. At this time, he started pulling away from his friends and isolating himself more and more. Fortunately, he remained close to us and was able to express what he was going through. All we wanted was to get him stable and happy. We knew during this time he started self-medicating with his prescription drugs, but we still had faith that it was going to be okay. He graduated from Everett High in 2006 on time and set several school records in the discus and shot put. Spencer felt he was ready for college and he was accepted at Washington State University. Still seeking treatment for depression and ADHD, we were hopeful that college was going to be a good change for him. But after 3 semesters, we brought him home. He was very unhappy about that, but his grades were suffering and he was not participating in school. He shared with us about smoking marijuana, alcohol use in combination with Adderall and other pills and inhalant use. We were scared and sent him to detox. We were also naive at the time and thought that would be the fix. In the coming years, we would realize that addiction was not a choice, but a disease, something he would have to deal with the rest of his life. Spencer really wanted to get back into college and prove to himself, his friends, and family that he could graduate and be successful. We decided to try college out of Washington. I made a surprise visit to where he was living after receiving some disturbing phone calls from him. What I found when I got there was going to change our life forever. I knew very little about heroin, so I wasn't aware of what all the foil squares were around his apartment. I did know it was drug related and found out it was black tar heroin. We had sent him to college with the condition that he needed to have a primary care doctor and continue with his counseling. The primary care doctor he was seeing while at school decided to put him on opioids with continuous refills for anxiety. This leading to his eventual heroin use. We staged an intervention and immediately put him in a 28-day treatment facility. And once again thinking this was going to be the cure. He was very thankful and appreciative that we had saved him, and all was good for a short time. But as I'm sure you have heard, treatment for most substance use disorders can be like a revolving door. This was very hard for him. He could not understand why he had an addictive behavior. In the treatment facilities, he found many people had very traumatic episodes in their personal life, and he felt like he didn't fit that stereotypical mold. He was very afraid of losing his life. Spencer wanted to be a firefighter and felt like if he was killed in a fire, he would at least die honorably. And Spencer lost his battle on October 14, 2012, at the age of 24. So we waited about 4 years until these forums to really share our story, because we were not sure what he would have wanted. Most of his friends and extended family were not aware of his heroin use, and he and I always thought we would write a book of his struggles once there was a happy ending. There was nothing he liked about using heroin. I think that is a big misconception. It made him feel dirty and unworthy. Heroin creates a lot of blame and shame within a family, not only affecting the person using, but all involved. The one thing we do feel good about is that we always treated him with love and respect and never put him out on the street as was suggested. We thought we could get him through his addiction, but we didn't understand how big his addiction was. So just a few things I'd like to share with you. Spencer completed 2 28-day inpatient treatment programs, one in Las Vegas and one in Yakima. He also spent 4 days in Fairfax Mental Health Facility in Kirkland. Both treatment facilities told us to cut off any emotional or financial support if he was using. This meant living on the street with no resources. It was something we could not do. He was released from treatment with no follow-up or doctor's care, even when prescribed drugs for bipolar disorder. Most psychiatrists, sorry. Most psychiatrists would not see him until he was 6 months sober. 12-step meetings were the only option. The inpatient treatment centers had no trained psychologist or psychiatrist on site. He had medical insurance and loving, educated parents. We made numerous visits to the ER for depression, erratic behavior, overdoses, and left with no follow-up or suggested treatment. Addiction is almost always accompanied by a mental health component, and drugs are used as a way to self-medicate, to deal with the emotional pain. At this time, dual diagnosis treatment is found in very few treatment centers. In order for individuals to heal, both the addiction and mental illness must be treated together. Society views addiction as a choice, and the individual is to blame. Addiction is an illness, not a choice, and it must be treated that way. Otherwise, there is no hope for those who are suffering. It feels that this is one of the few diseases that the medical profession does not treat. They prescribe the addictive drugs, but leave the individual to seek help from government agencies, privately run treatment centers, and 12-step meetings. These are all good resources, but we need science-based treatment, long-term care and follow-up, housing options, detox and treatment options available upon demand. So please recognize addiction can happen to your child. The epidemic is real. Be prepared to fight for your child's life. My child is gone, a victim of a horrible, misunderstood, mistreated disease. Thank you.